Man, what's up with you, man? You already know what time it is, man.
Rude awakening time.
Rude awakening. Oh man, the preparation. The preparation is something else, ain't it, man? Oh man, the preparation is something else. So like we ain't been here in a while, huh? With 2 weeks.
Right.
2 weeks. Yeah. Because 2 weeks ago we were down there live on the Riverview.
Exactly.
And then last week was the Super Bowl, the idol worship, so we didn't mess with it.
Shout out to Live on the River.
Oh yeah, Live on the River Bend. Marvin Yankee, that whole team down there, you know, shout out. Thank y'all for having us down there, you know. All praises be.
Plan on coming back also.
Oh yeah, we definitely be back. Oh man.
Breathe in, breathe out.
Man, our lives in the blessings, yes.
Yes,
You know, so many blessings.
Yes,
So many blessings. Can't keep count of them all, you know. You know, but life ain't nothing but our own rights and wrongs and cycles, orbiting us. You know, any person can change their situation simply by changing what they put out into the cosmos.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Easy as that. Whatever you put in the cosmos, it comes back, negative or positive. You know.
Talk to him, brother.
Oh man, we're gonna get it kinked up in a minute,
Yeah,
man. You know,
we're gonna give y'all a little bit to live on here, because this one.
Oh yeah, you already know.
Serious.
You already know, man.
Each one serious stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Real.
Shout out to Ron C.
Ron C. Highlight.
Ronald Caldwell Hill.
Yes, sir.
Highlight Records, Single Mother Movement. Man, salute.
Salute, baby.
You know, Travis Smith. Kingdom Cuts. 1113 Milton Road. You know, y'all know where it's at.
Praise the Most High.
Kingdom, praise the Most High. You know, what we gotta stop doing, we're gonna stop singling out certain people because we miss so many. But we just be singling out those that we directly affiliated with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And things like that. But it's not to be to slight anyone else. You know what I mean? We honor, we love, we respect all of y'all that's out here trying to make this world a better place. Jimmy Prather.
Yeah.
Another brother.
Jimmy Prather, we see you, baby.
Jimmy Prather. I'm sitting in my bed one time on the coldest night this year. And this brother out there in the cold trying to get a place for the homeless to go. Man, shout out.
Love that.
You know, shout out.
Good man right there.
Oh yeah. Kathy Williams. You know how many favors she done gave to the community. You know how many favors.
Yes, sir.
You know? Yeah. So you are ready, brother?
You ready?
Oh man, you know I try to stay that, you know.
I gotta make sure I get that volume right so we don't get in trouble.
But make sure the volume right.
Oh, yeah.
But don't take too much off of it.
Right.
I'm so amped up tonight, they gonna hear me.
Talk to them.
You can almost leave it where it's at, bro. The subject matter tonight, you know, when I texted you about a week and a half ago, I said I was gonna go over signs and symbols and the horrors of Hellenism. Now, when you hear the word Hellenism, Hellenism is a word that means a person or an institution who promotes Greek civilization, Greek ideas and customs over the entire planet. Any person or institution who is promoting Greek influence over the entire world, that's what they favor. That's called Hellenism. And unbeknownst to us, this is what we've been victimized by. A Hellenistic form of ideals. You know, a Roman Korea oligarchy system. You know, where they have us identifying with so many Roman and Greek ideas, customs, rhetoric, jargon, and malargin. I mean, we don't understand. So, like my sister-in-law, Marquitra, shout out Marquitra.
Okay.
She had wanted me to talk about, like, a couple days before the Super Bowl. I put out a post. Once I seen they had the Saint deliver the ram up for slaughter.
Yeah, I think that.
I made a post 2 days before the Super Bowl. I said, I don't mean to rain on y'all parade, but they're about to act out scripture through sports. You know, this is what they've always done since the days of the Coliseum. But what is the name of the new stadium in Atlanta? The Coliseum. What's on the front of it? The German Bavarian Illuminati symbol that they call a Mercedes-Benz symbol. Well, who owns Mercedes-Benz? The German Bavarian Illuminati. That's what BMW stands for, Bavarian Motor Works. And so once I seen it was taking place at the Coliseum, I seen that infamous no call on pass interference against the Saints. Well, I knew then that they delivering the ram up for slaughter to the patriot. Now, the patriot of all religions is considered Abraham. And Abraham had a son with two. One was named Ishmael, the other name was Isaac. And it is said that through scripture, he took Isaac up on the mountain to sacrifice him because God had told him to do so. But once he had took Isaac up there, God said, no, I was just testing your faith. Never mind. So he ended up sacrificing a ram instead. And so Abraham, known as the patriot of all monotheistic religions, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, for the Christians that believe in the oneness of the Creator. You see what I mean? And so once I seen it panning out, I said, oh, I know how this is gonna go. And then my cousin Jack Cox said, well, cuz how they gonna do that? The Rams the better team. I said, listen, man, if you want to control a sport, you don't buy the players. They all want to win. Yeah. You buy the referees. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? I said, cuz, watch this call. The call that's gonna control the game is gonna be holding on the offense. And in the third quarter, when the Rams on the move about to score, it was 2nd and 12. They made 15 yards. And the refs called holding on the offense. And then it made it 3rd and 22. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't able to recoup from that. Holding is a call that you could call any play of football. You could call that it's holding going on every play. But you got the determination to call it or let it go. But you control the outcome of games by blowing that whistle during that time. And so they've been acting out scripture in their stadiums by selecting which animal fight which patriarch, or which beast fights this, etc. To them, it's all just a game. They playing on our people's naivety. Right. You see what I'm saying? And so not only do they got us idealizing with idolism, idolatry, you know, because at the end of the sport, they get that trophy, they hold it up, and the fans just cheer. You idol worshiping and don't even know it. Exactly. So they got a certain system in place that makes a person in diametric opposition to what Allah, God, Jehovah, Yahweh expects of us. You know, case in point, they got all of the days of the weeks named after either a Greek or Roman god or something else. So you got Monday. You know, and that's the day that the Roman Empire set aside for those who worship the moon to have their day of worship. You have Tuesday, who's named after a Greek god, Ti, T-I-W. You see what I mean? You got Wednesday, that's named after an Asatru or Scandinavian god known as Woden's-day. You got Thursday, named after a Greek god named Thor. You got Friday, named after, in reference to a Greek goddess named Frigg, whose symbol was a fish. And so on Friday, no matter what Greek or Roman institution you in, they always serve fish on Friday because she was known as Fry. You see, and her symbol is the fish. And so they've institutionalized polytheism, or the belief in multiple gods. They named Saturday after Saturn, a Roman god, and they set Sunday aside for those who wanted to idealize or worship the sun. You know, but it didn't stop there. When they structured their society, they also infused the days of the months with Greek and Roman gods. When you got January in reference to the Greek god Janus. When you got February in reference to the Greek god Phoebus. When you got March in reference to the Roman deity Mars. When you got April in reference to the Greek god Aprilis. When you got January, March, April, May in reference to the Greek god, is spelled M-A-I-I-A, Maia. When you got June in reference to Junus. When you got July named after Julius Caesar. You know, and Julius Caesar, he happened to be the first person that they recorded having to get cut out of their mama. And so what you call the Caesarean section is in reference to Caesar, the Caesarean section. You see what I'm saying? Because he had to get cut out of his mom. So you got August, named after Emperor Augustus. You see what I'm saying? Then you got September, which means 7. You got October, which means 8. These Latin numbers now. You got November, Novum, which means 9. You got December, which is decim, which means 10. But in the Gregorian calendar, they telling our people that December is the last month of the year. It's not. It's the 10th month, and they know it. That's why it's called December. The Latin word for decim, 10. So if December is the last month of the year, I mean, if it's the 10th month of the year, then February is actually the last month of the year. You see what I mean? And when is Black History Month? So they want you can think about you and your plight at the end of us celebrating and idealizing with everything that we want to deal with. Even if you're going by the Gregorian calendar and think it's the last month, it's still, we done took care of all our European business. Now y'all go ahead, you see what I'm saying, and think about what y'all want to think about.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so, to these people, the signs and symbols. I mean, these people so monotonous, man, that even the way that they designed the churches in the 17 and 1800s, like me and you was talking about earlier, they designed them as Masonic temples. And when I say masonry, I wanted to make this point when we was down there live on the riverbend. Because my cousin Jack House and I love him to death. Take a bullet for him. And he demonstrated masonry. My cousin Travis demonstrated masonry. But it is a difference between how we idealize with masonry and how Europeans idealize with masonry. You see, the most segregated place, our ideals are so separate inside a church and lodges that the most segregated places in America on certain days of the week is the lodge and the church. You see what I mean? Yeah. So you go to our church, it's all us. You go to their churches, it's all them. My wife said one time she got invited to a Catholic church for a wedding. And she the only Asiatic. It was somebody at her church, at her school that she worked at, that was getting married. She go inside of the church, and they looking at her like she ain't supposed to be there. Say that the guy that was at the door gave her so much hell that she basically had to go get the female that was getting married and get him to leave her alone. Wow. Walk inside, take your Asiatic, so-called African American butt inside of one of them European churches this Sunday and see how they look at you. You see what I mean? And feel the energy. Yeah. Feel the ether rate. You know what I'm saying? But when they designed these early churches in the 17 and 1800s after masonry was established, you know, and that's the main thing I want to say first and foremost is that our brothers and sisters that's practicing masonry, we're not idealizing with it how the founding fathers idealized with it. Okay. You know what I mean? Because people say, well, I heard Masons worship the devil. I heard this, that, and the other. Man, we got cousins, aunts, mothers, mother-in-laws, etc. that's in the masonry. Okay. You think they worshiping the devil? Exactly. Hell no, they ain't. Right. Use your mind. Right. These are respectable, prestigious people inside of this community. You know what I'm saying? That's doing more right than wrong. Exactly. And referencing God and idealizing with God. So it's a difference between how we practice and how they practice. Right. Now, when they designed the early churches, they would inscribe all kind of Masonic signs and symbols all around the churches and within the churches. And so they would place on the hinges of the old churches. And the thing about Alton, you got a few churches that was built in the 1800s right downtown. So don't take my word for it. Go down there and observe them yourself down off 3rd Street. Yeah. Me and Marcus Williams Bay, we went down there, man, we was just fascinated. Yeah. It is ridiculous when a message is left.
I remember seeing you down there one day.
You see what I'm saying? And so they made the doors shaped like the Pope's hat, which is actually supposed to be symbolic of the vaginal shaft of the woman. Okay. And they would place keys, markings as the hinges of those doors. Okay. They would make all of the carpet red, so that as soon as you walk in, it's all red carpet, symbolic of the redness of the walls of the vaginal shaft. They would have whoever is teaching elevated, like the eggs inside of the woman. They would design the stained glass windows to face the east so that when whoever is speaking, the sun be shining on the window to give some type of transient effect. Because whenever light is mixed with water, like you in the womb of your mother, you in water, and the light, even though it's triple darkness, still can penetrate to a degree. Now, so the stained glass window is symbolic of light penetrating water. And when light penetrates water, you get a prism effect, you know, or what you call a rainbow. So when it's sunny outside in the rain, you see a rainbow. Exactly. But that rainbow, that's what the surface level people call it. It's actually a frequency belt. Megahertz, electricity, magnetism. Each color represents a frequency that's on this planet. You see what I mean? And whichever frequency affects the fruit or vegetable the most during this growth period, it takes on the color of that frequency. Wow. You see what I'm saying? Wow, okay. And so the stained glass window is supposed to have that same effect. And so this person is elevated teaching you. You see what I'm saying? So the inside of it is supposed to be like the womb of a woman. And then when you leave up out of the church, walking out them same doors of the vaginal shaft or doors, you are said to be born again. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you said to be born again. When you leave the church, you're supposed to be walking back out of the legs of the woman. Wow. You see what I'm saying? This is the kind of symbolism and structure that these people functioning on. But we running around here, we're not thinking on that level. You see what I mean? And they got several signs and symbols that we're about to get into.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I see you got some notes tonight.
Oh, man, do I? But let me start with this. Okay. These European Masons, not to be confused with the Prince Hall Masons. You see what I'm saying? Our brothers and sisters.
What's the difference?
Well, the biggest difference is when Prince Hall established the lodge, he was an Asiatic. He was a Moor. He was one of us, a brother.
Okay.
And his mother was Barbados born, but she was a slave. His father was from England, so he was a mulatto. But according to law, the child takes the nationality of the father and the status of the mother. There we go with that word again, status. Well, the status of his mother was a slave, property. And so he was property.
Okay.
But once he was given or sold to a different owner, that owner allowed him, to partake in masonry. And he ended up establishing a separate lodge from the European lodge for brothers and sisters to participate in.
Wow.
But these early European Masons, what they actually practicing is a Greco-Roman replica of the ancient Egyptian ideal systems. If you took back all of the symbols from Egypt, from Masonry and the Shriners, they'd be butt-naked and outdoors. They had no footing to stand on. Everything that they replicating are showing, the signs and symbols that they're showing are all our ancestors. But these people are duty-bound to rule us with our own science. And so they have certain rhetoric that they use. Like Hiram Abiff, Solomon's friend, who contained in his head the diagram of a perfect temple that you didn't need a hammer or wood or nails to make. You talking about the temple of perfected man. You see what I mean? But Hiram Abiff was said to have got beat down by 3 ruffians. They called them Jubela, Jubelo, and Jubelum. We know it as France, England, and the United States. Now, one of them is said to have struck him in his heart with the compass. The other one said they hit his throat with the square, and the other one hit him in his head with the setting maul and killed him and drug him on a westward course and buried him in a shallow grave. Well, the hitting in the throat symbolizes the removal of the language. The hitting in the head symbolizes the removal of the knowledge of self. The stabbing in the heart symbolizes killing the ability for you to love your own self and kind. Drug on a westward course. What direction is the United States from Africa? A westward course. Buried in a shallow grave. What's that shallow grave? Ignorance. But the effects is deep. And so this whole Masonic rhetoric is about them secretly ruling us. And how are they ruling us? Because they're getting us to idealize with Greek and Roman gods. They're getting us to call the days of the week after Greek and Roman. How God feel? And the scriptures say he's a jealous God. So how he feel when you sitting up calling and identifying with all these false gods? You sitting up here worshiping Nike, our children. Nike is the Greek goddess of victory. And her symbol is that same swoosh that they got on the side of the shoe. Wow. You're about to celebrate Valentine's Day. Who was St. Valentine? Well, it was 2 of them. One of them, he was a priest and a physician who the Emperor Claudius had murdered by the Christians. And the second one was a bishop that also got killed in Rome. And so when you idealize, this one is too gruesome, that one he was killed in a better way, you exchanging Valentines. You see what I'm saying? So they got our kids out here exchanging Valentines where one story too gruesome, so we'll rather idealize with the other one. And they got this character, Cupid, who is the Greek god of love. But when you research his story, it says he was a pansexual. Say he was fond of sex of all kinds and lovers of all kinds. So he was a pansexual, and according to Greek mythology, it's levels to this. It's levels to this. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. According to Greek mythology, his father was Mercury and his mother was Venus. So here it is. We're about to, next week, go idealize and spend our money on another Greco-Roman holiday that's patronizing false gods. We got to wake up. Unlock your own power. You have to unlock your own power by giving to Caesar or Rome what's Rome and give to God what's God's. You see what I'm saying? Because on the Masonic chart, the European Masonic chart from 1870, and you see a chart with a bunch of signs and symbols, but then you see a coffin sitting in front of the chart with the Moorish flag, our ancestors' flag, draped over the front of it, with an acacia tree planted in the front of it, leaning over it. The acacia tree is indigenous to Africa. So here it is, they got us buried in a shallow grave of our own ignorance, ruling us with our own science, our own signs and symbols.
Well, when you got signs and symbols, you know, I want the people to see what you're talking about.
Okay,
you know
so
what I'm saying? You know, so we don't lose time on them.
Okay, yeah, because we've been going there. We even got into it.
It's deep.
Okay, so everybody know the compass and square.
Okay.
The Masonic symbol. But our ancestors had a sign and symbol also, which is known as Circle 7. On the gate of no return, before they would ship us from Africa over to the United States, that's called the door of no return. You had Circle 7s inscribed all over it. Because to our ancestors, the circle was the symbol of perfection, and 7 is the number of perfection. So they replicated it. You see, because when you interlock the compass and the square, you got a square. And a square has 4 right angles, each one 90 degrees. So even the square got 360 degrees. And then they'll put a G in the inside of it. Because instead of the circle and the 7, they use the square and a G. Because the G is the 7th letter of the alphabet. So this is Moorish science codified. This is our ancestors' ideas and symbols codified. Now, when you're dealing with this one, the Maltese cross, the Knights of Malta, who also known as the Knights Templars, both of these are their symbols. The Knights of Malta, the Templars, they control the revenue for all fire departments.
Okay.
I don't care if the fire department is in New York. I don't care if it's in California, Albuquerque, Alton, Illinois. They're going to have that Maltese cross on the side of it.
Okay.
But guess what? It was the same Knights of Malta that funded Adolf Hitler.
It almost looks like the St. Patrick's Day sign almost.
Well, check it out. Check this out. It's the same Knights of Malta that funded Adolf Hitler. That's how come if you go look back at any World War II footage, he'd always had this on his regalia. Him and his SS men would always have a Knights of Malta symbol on their regalia. But even deeper still, they've been toying with us so long with this Masonic rhetoric that as kids, they had us playing with 2 action figures. One of them had this symbol in the center of their chest, and the other one had that symbol in the center of their chest. So you had He-Man, blonde hair, blue eyes, called the Masters of the Universe with this symbol, and you had his rival Skeletor with this symbol. Because the Skull and Bones and the Knights of Malta have been at odds with one another of who won't rule this world. You know, you got, check game. You got the 7-pointed Inauguran star. Now the Inauguran Society of Masons, they control the revenue of all sheriff's departments. So every sheriff, you're going to see that 7-pointed star on the door. They own all the police departments. They own all of the police, the Inauguran Society. So next time you're watching Cops or see some footage, count the stars, because you'll mistake it as a 6-pointed star. It's a 7-pointed star, the Inauguran Society. These are the Rosicrucians who chose to mix European science with Egyptian science. And this is how come they painted the police cars black and white. Symbolic of a mixture of the 2 sciences together. The Inauguran Society. When you're dealing with European Masonry, see, they're a major corporation right now. And so this symbol here, this is a pyramid from the top, missing the capstone. See, somebody took the cap off our situation, analyzed what we was doing, and then robbed us. They even took the mummies to Europe. They even took the remains. Talk about desecrating the grave. You would rob a tomb and then even take the body of our ancestors to a museum in Europe. But this is a Masonic symbol. Arco Arena, where the Sacramento Kings play. Arco, the corporation, Masonic owned and operated. Fidelity Life Insurance, where they use the pyramid missing the capstone in a different direction. Fidelity Life Insurance, etc. And I'm just naming some companies. When you start researching and go to Dollar General. Me and my wife went to Dollar General and we noticed that 90% of the products in it are Masonic and got Masonic signs and symbols on it. Sunbelt products. Anytime you see or dealing with a rising sun or a fully risen sun, you're dealing with Masonry. They call themselves children of the sun. So Fidelity Life Insurance uses this symbol, Masonic. Amico used the torch of the Illuminati inside of a shield. Anytime you see that torch of Illuminati, you dealing with masonry. Like Paramount Pictures or Columbia Pictures, where that statue is holding, the lady is holding the torch of the Illuminati when the movie come on.
Yeah.
But who did they sell themselves to? See, Amoco sold itself to British Petroleum. What's their symbol? A fully risen sun. You see, so British Petroleum, they also Masonic owned and operated. They just demonstrating a different symbol. The reason they use these signs and symbols so they know who they spending their money with. They know which order, which faction they are spending their money with. They direct currency through these signs and symbols. When you ride inside of a new city or a new town, you'll see a sign on the side that got several signs and symbols on it showing you what all Masonic orders is there in that city. What all lodges, what all, etc.
Yeah.
So that's British Petroleum. Here go another one. Shell Oil. It's not a shell at all. Turn it up a little bit. I feel good. This ain't a shell at all. And you got to go to some of the old shell stations to see that it's actually the sun rising between two pyramids. The Queen of the Netherlands owns 80% of Shell Oil. Masonic owned and operated. The sun rising between two pyramids. Shell Oil. Exxon.
Yeah, we know that.
These people major. See, and they're not ashamed of this. You could call these organizations and ask them, are you affiliated with Masons? Yeah, we are. They're not ashamed of this. They consider these to be the most prestigious type of organizations you can belong to. But Exxon, where you got, it's pronounced Exxon, but it's not two X's. It's the double cross of Roman Freemasonry, tilted sideways. Think about that. The double cross. We know what it means to be double crossed. And they betray so many people in their quest and conquest of this planet that they developed them. The regular cross wasn't good enough for them. Wow. They made them a double cross.
Wow.
And Exxon are owned and operated by Masons. The double cross of Roman Freemasonry tilted sideways. The half-risen sun, like Lay's, Frito-Lay, Little Debbie, etc. You're dealing with Masonry. And these people so entrenched and enthralled in Masonry that they'll call a political meeting a summit. Well, what's a summit? A sunrise. What time did they bury Ronald Reagan? At the summit. A high-ranking Mason, they buried him at sunrise. These people functioning and acting out right in your face, but you don't know. You know now. I posted this the other day. The fascist. Now, the fascist is the symbol for fascism. When you're dealing with a fascist government or a government that's established on fascism, then they will promote the benefit and welfare over their people or their race or one race over the rest of the races that's present. So what race is this fascist government promoting and instituting this laws to promote the welfare of? The same 6 bloodlines that's represented in the white stripes on the American flag. You got 6 white stripes, symbolic of the French, the English, the Germans, the Dutch, the Norwegians, and the Italians. You see what I'm saying? This government is duty bound to protect the benefit and welfare of Europeans. Their whole job is to make sure 25 years from now Europeans are still in control. How can you have a multi-ethnic society like the United States but Europeans still remain firmly in control? Despite all the different nationalities of people. Because every law that they practice, every law that they pass and promote and push out there is to their benefit. They don't care if you black as Obama. You see, you're going to be purple as Barney. As long as you're going to sit in this office and maintain our stronghold over this corporate demonstration that we got going on. This is how come when you catch a Fed case. When you catch a Fed case, what your paperwork say? That your little activity was affecting interstate commerce. Because the federal court is a corporate court. It's a maritime court. That's why the gold fringe is around the flag. It's a corporate court. And they saying that whatever you was doing was interfering with all this business they got going on. Your business was affecting interstate commerce, the fascist. It's on both sides of the podium in Capitol Hill. And speaking of Capitol Hill, notice how they spell it. C-A-P-I-T-O-L. Not capital with the A-L, which would be in reference to money or the financial institutions of corporations, but O-L. Google Capitol Hill with the O-L. Capitol Hill is one of the 7 decision-making hills of the ancient Roman Empire. Stop me when I lie. Stop me when I lie. The Royal Arch degree of Freemasonry. Here it is, 10 minutes northeast of where you at. You got a 630-foot Masonic symbol right in the middle of St. Louis.
Right.
The Royal Arch degree of Freemasonry. Charles Russell, who established the Kingdom Hall, was a Royal Arch degree Freemason. You see, so they got their signs and symbols everywhere. We just not knowing what's going on. Anytime you see two squares superimposed on top of each other, no matter in this format or making a star, you're dealing with Masonry. The corporation that uses this is called Chevron. This symbol is called a chevron. You got the oil company called Chevron that uses this symbol. But the chevron is also the symbol that entry-level police officers must wear on the collars of their shirt.
Okay.
Check it out next time you're getting booked. Hopefully you're not getting booked. Exactly. But if you're ever getting booked, look at what's on the collar of the person that's booking you. The chevron.
Wow.
The all-seeing eye
All-seeing eye
of the Illuminati and Masonry. You know, the Colombian faction uses this symbol. Not Colombian as what you know Colombia as today, but the Colombian faction as of 300 years ago. They own CBS, Columbia Broadcast Service. They own Columbia Music. They had the Columbia Space Shuttle named in honor of them. You know what I mean? The Colombian faction, another Masonic owned and operated. You see that open eye on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The cross and the crown of Masonry. Anytime that you see that cross going through that crown, that's Masonry. Google it. Anytime you see that cross going through that crown, you're dealing with Masonry. But I seen this same symbol on a Watchtower magazine. I seen this same symbol on the sign for a Baptist church right over there by Noel's shop. But you also see it on every Masonic lodge. Because they're the ones that authorized and authenticated and created this as a Masonic symbol. Pay attention. You surrounded. We surrounded. Anytime you're dealing with that owl is used as the Mason by the Masons. This is why it's on the front of the dollar bill, on the left side, on top of the one. On that little hook part, you'll see a little owl. And the reason they like the owl more is because the owl, it sees things in the dark.
Yeah.
While all our people in the darkness about everything that's going on, all these signs and symbols, they seeing it clearly.
On the right side.
His head rotates 360 degrees, meaning they got when you say 360, that means a total knowledge. So they say they got a total understanding of what's going on. And it's a bird of prey. It kills to live. They will kill to live. This has been they battle plan and they battle cry and they marching orders. Kill to survive. You know? So anytime that you're seeing that owl, you're dealing with Masonry. What time is it?
I want to teach you, bro.
Anytime you're dealing with seeing this one, this is called the Shriner's Jewel. The Shriner's Jewel. So only the elitists of the Masons become a Shriner. You have to have graduated the highest degree in the lodge to become a Shriner.